this. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for showing up today. We're so excited that you are here today because I have just an amazing guest that I'm so excited to share with just the world and the people that are here that are already her fans. My name is Diana Londoño. I'm a urologist in Los Angeles, and I'm the founder of Physician Coach Support, which is what sort of sponsors these monthly talks that are really here to help physicians with different tools, such as writing or energy or meditation or, efficiency. So many things that can help us as physicians get to a better place, because we know that physicians are struggling. More than 60% are burned out, 25% are depressed, and more than 400 per year complete suicide. So this is every year, and this is so tragic, and we can only get better. So I founded Physician Coach Support. It's a free and confidential platform for any physician to go and make an appointment via Zoom 7 days a week with a colleague who's a physician and a life coach. And anything that comes up, any feeling, any emotion, any circumstance that is challenging, we're there to support you for free and confidential. So I started it because of my own burnout journey, and just really wanted to be of service and give back. And after I became a life coach, I wanted to not have my own coaching practice, but really grow this and help others. So it's just one step. Is not the only way to do coaching, but it hopefully can get you maybe looking at things a little bit differently and just get you out of the molasses of burnout. So because of that, we do these monthly meetings, again, with experts in their own fields that hopefully can help us, again, maybe get us out of a difficult situation, or look at things a little different, or give us tools and tricks and tips, again, how to just look at everything a little different. So like I said, this is Oxana Ormonova, and we met online. We're online friends, but one day I was in my house. We were about to have vacation in 2 weeks, which we hadn't planned. And I had this really strong feeling that I wanted to be close to a volcano, which I really didn't know why. And Oksana will tell you, she lives in the big island of Hawaii. And, the big volcano Pele, maybe she'll share that too, is there. And this is a very big place that has a lot of energy and a very spiritual place. And so I got called to say, I need to go visit the volcano. And that's where I met Oksana. And as a testament of what we're talking about energy, my kids that are 5 and 7 came with us, obviously. And my kids who had never met Oksana just gravitated like moths to the fire, or like honey, to honey, to Oksana, and just loved her and hugged her. And, I think kids and dogs, they pick up a lot of energy, and little babies too. They really go with people that have great energy. And if you don't have good energy, kids or dogs won't come close to you. And I have these pictures of my kids just like, I want to be next to Oksana, and hugging her and just sitting next to her at the restaurant. Never have met her. So that just really goes to show that, energy, even as if we're physicians or in healthcare, sometimes we don't like to talk about it or think about it, but energy is all around us. We are energetic beings. We're little molecules that vibrate at really high speeds, and we look solid like a person. So just to kind of give you the background of Oksana and just her energy and how it gravitates, dolphins and little kids, and she'll talk all about that. So Oksana is a board certified internal medicine physician. She's an intuitive healer, intuitive life coach, and a spiritual counselor. And we're going to talk about what that even means. And she's an ocean lover. Like I said, she lives in Hawaii. She swims daily with dolphins. She has beautiful pictures of her swimming with the dolphins and the whales, and, who really accept her as her own and bring her money, or you bring the money with tokens, little leaves. So there's really special connection that she has with these animals that are very lovely and intelligent. She is from Siberia, and she's going to talk about how that experience of growing up in Siberia and her family really shaped her and who she is today. And again, we're going to talk about all this energy stuff, like what is this, and talk about as, any person, not just in medicine or healthcare, what happens when we sometimes start feeling way down, almost feeling apathy or depression, and maybe nothing to do with apathy, depression, or any medical issue, you know, thyroid or anything else, but something else is going on, and something else may be energy. So we're going to talk about these things that are never taught in training, but I think are very important. So that was a really long introduction, but it's just important just so they know who you are, just your magic, your energy, and just again, how my kids absolutely adore you. And so, Oxana, thank you for being here. I'm just so grateful you're here with me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. Thank you for having me. And again, I just thank you so much for doing an amazing job. You helping physicians. I mean, having your program as a free coaching for physicians where they just can call anytime and speak to physician coach. I mean, I wish I had that when I was going through my residency or when I was having a hard time. So, and I wish, you know, so many more physicians know about that, what you're offering, because it's so valuable. And yes, as you mentioned, for those of you who don't know me, I was born in little place called Tuva near Mongolia, and it's known for throat singing. So if you ever heard about this particular way of throat singing, so this is where I was born. I grew up in Siberia. And since I was little child, I could see things and perceive things which other people were not aware of. My mom was a physician, and back then, you know, I used to make rounds with her in the hospital when I don't know, I was probably like 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And I, you know, as long as I remember myself, I just always wanted to help people. I wanted to heal people. And at the same time, when I was a child, again, I was able to perceive what other people could not perceive, but I also was very, very sensitive. And I could feel other people's emotions. I could see what was going on with them without even them talking about it. And, you know, the strange thing was when I was growing up as a child, I was always sick. And I remember my favorite holiday was in Siberia, New Year's. It's like magical when we put Christmas tree and Santa Claus comes and you get all the gifts. And every single New Year, I was sick, either with tonsillitis, either it was high fever. I probably remember just maybe once or twice where I actually was not sick and I got to go and celebrate and play with other kids. And back then, you know, we didn't know what was wrong with me. So I saw multiple physicians. Somebody thought I had autoimmune disease and all of that. And then I went to medical school because I wanted to heal people. And I remember when I was in my medical school, after a couple of years, I started healing people, but it was different type of healing. So I would have my lectures during the day, and then I would go and work in a clinic in the evenings. And this was where I would just go in and put my hands on people. And it was amazing because people were feeling better. They were going like, oh my God, my pain went away. My whatever issue I had went away. And I would get home and I was just like, I would go straight to bed. I was so exhausted. And back then I didn't realize what was happening. I thought it was normal. I was in Siberia. It took me just 5 hours each day to go back and forth from med school, right? So I was like, well, it's just probably part of that. Anyway, so, and then was another interesting thing was happened a long time ago. I was doing elective in rheumatology, and some of you who been attending my lectures heard this story. And I was going like, oh my God, this is so exciting. It's like going to be a mini vacation. Those of us who went through residency and who went to med school know, okay, if you're on a surgical rotation, it's like, okay, toughen up, girl, right? And I'm like, oh, rheumatology, I get to sleep in. I show up at 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's
the
like
hours are nice. You don't have to
wait. The hours are nice. It's all outpatient. It's just going to be a breeze. And then after a couple of days, I just felt so exhausted. My joints were hurting. like, I was like, oh my God, I was like, want to sleep all the time. And I remember, and again, it was a long time ago, at the beginning of my training, I asked my attending, and I said, I don't feel good. And she said, well, it's okay. I feel like that all the time. And she said, well, why don't you just start taking low dose antidepressant? She said, just take half a pill. And this is what, I've been doing for many years, and it will help you. But for me, I went like, oh my God, I'm at the beginning of my medical training. If I start taking antidepressants now, what am I looking down the road?
Yeah, if you start with half pill, well, you're gonna end up with like the triple dose, right? And the 5 doses. So yeah, so interesting. And I love how you said you came to heal people. And I think, the definition of physician is actually healer and teacher. But I think we have lost it, forgotten sometimes, and we tend to be more the transcriber, the surgical tech, that does a surgery, that prescribes, that, adds pills and just manages different doses of meds and, see you in 3 months with your blood work and see you later. But then I think we lose that healing, that presence, whether it's just the presence itself or the touch. Maybe some people don't have that level of healing capability, they haven't developed it, but just the fact that you are present, you look at your patient in their eyes, you listen to their fears, to whatever, and that in itself is healing. And then if you put a little a touch in their shoulder, or you're more developed to be able to do what you were doing, people leave feeling better, and you actually don't do anything. And I think people are very surprised. And I think even for myself, sometimes I think I don't do anything, but I just listen to people that come, my patients, and that's where the healing power is. And the placebo is our innate wellness. Like we have that innate wellness, that innate knowing to get well, to be well, or the innate being of illness as well. We create our own illness or our own wellness. But when you have somebody like you that is in front of them and has that presence or that healing touch, I think that's so powerful. And I think we have sort of forgotten it. So I find it interesting that you were going to these, classes, or these, seeing these patients and healing them. You obviously were doing your normal coursework. So how did other people react? Did you tell your classmates or colleagues anything about what you were experiencing? Did you share this ever, or this is something that you just kind of noticed? Oh, I'm noticing this when I go see patients. How did that work for you?
Yes, thank you. It's great. Yes, great question. And just to kind of go back, as you were talking about physicians via healers, I remember this memory came to me, when I was, I don't know, maybe I was 12 or 13, and I saw this movie. And in this movie, it was a movie about old man in a village, where people would come to him, he would just put his hands and people will get healed. And I remember I saw this movie and I was crying. And I said, oh my God, this is what I want to do when I grow up, right? And again, when I was doing it after my medical school lectures, I was not really telling people. I was not, because not so many people back then were open-minded about it. So I kind of kept it on a side. And again, when I was working as a hospitalist for many years, most of my colleagues and patients didn't know what I was doing, right? So they didn't know what I was doing outside the hospital work. And, as a part of it, when I was talking about how I was picking up everybody else's energy, or how I was sick all the time, what was happening, back then, I didn't realize I was absorbing everybody else's energy. I was absorbing energy of people around me, my surroundings, patients. And I mean, now I would say in the last, I don't know, decade probably, right? It became kind of like a new word, right? Being an empath. But when I went to medical school, when I was growing up, I don't know how about you, but I never heard about these things. I never heard that you could be sensitive, right? Or you could be empath, and you're different from other people because you're like that, right? And for me, I was an empath. I was a sensitive person. And now when I'm working with, again, I work with a lot of healers, a lot of physicians, and people who gravitate to me are those who are sensitive, who are empaths. So yes, but the bright side, I see so many more physicians opening up to concept of energy, concept of spirituality, and so forth. So times are changing, and
Yeah.
it's great to see.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of to go back because you sort of mentioned when you were young, all those New Year's celebrations, you were sick because you were picking up other people's energy. When you did this rotation in rheumatology, which is, treating autoimmune, a lot of autoimmune
Chronic pain and
chronic pain, joint pain.
Mm.
This is sort of what they deal with. And you felt that physical joint pain, you felt exhausted because you were picking up in a way their patients, illness or complaints or things that they're coming to see their rheumatologist for. So how then did you realize that it was other people's energy and not just your commute or the fact that that's how medicine is, or the fact that you just pop a little pill and that's what your life is going to be? I mean, that was sort of the solution your attending gave you, which, neither here nor there. It was just a solution, an idea. But how did you realize? I mean, in a way, you also had intuition, actually, that said, this doesn't seem right that I'm going to take a pill or a half pill now. And then, whatever is going to happen in 5 years, I'll take like the full dose. But you listened to that inner something that didn't feel quite right. But then how did you realize it's not even, again, the commute or this or that, or how medicine is, that is a depressing thing because it shouldn't be. How did you realize maybe it's energy? And then how then did you start, replenishing, maintaining, the energy? And that's a big kind of conversation and question, but how did you realize that? And what were the steps that you took to then be in a place where you're not depleted or with joint pain or sick?
Great question. Well, since I was a child, I was very interested in spirituality. I loved to read. I read a lot of philosophy. And when I was a child, my mom had to hide books from me literally because I would just read, 10 hours straight. And again, I read a lot of philosophy, a lot of spirituality. I started meditating. I explored different types of meditation, different, spiritual techniques and so forth. And just things started to make sense to me. And I started realizing, oh, wait a minute. We are all energy. Everything is energy. And even Einstein said, right? Everything is energy. And again, it's put me on this, my spiritual path of discovering and growth and realizing, okay, what tools do I need to use to still maintain my compassion, to still being able to connect with people around me, but not absorbing their problems, not absorbing their pain. Because what happens when you absorb somebody else's energy or you absorb somebody's problems, because it's not your energy, you can't process it, right? You can't fix it. And let's say if you absorb somebody's problems, because you have not created this problem, you can't solve it. And
I love when you say that. I love explain. I've heard you say this many, many times, but every time I hear it, I'm like, yes, that's right. Because if it's not your problem, you cannot solve it for them. Yes, as physicians or anyone in medicine, or even as a friend, you want to help your friend, you want to give them solutions, but then it's really not yours. And then it starts sort of weighing you down. I mean, for people that are sort of new to this, how can this manifest? Like I said, when we start, if you didn't realize you're an empath or somebody sensitive, or you have a little bit of this gift that you didn't realize, like you pick up other people's energy. Maybe that's why you're also very good at what you do if you're in some type of service kind of industry or medicine or healthcare, because you are able to pick up those cues, those things unsaid perhaps. But how can you explain to others, how does it manifest when you pick up all this energy that is not yours? What do people tell you they feel, or what do you feel?
Great question. Well, as we were talking about problems, right? So if you have not created problem, you can't solve it because you have not created it. You always can solve what you created it. But then again, if it's not your problem, it's kind of sits in your energy field. And then it starts manifesting in your life. So for example, let's say you have a girlfriend or close friend who is going through relationship issues, right? So things not working in the relationship. And if you start absorbing that energy without realizing it, let's say your relationship was going great. You were happy, everything going smoothly with your husband. And then all of a sudden you notice that, oh, wait a minute, you start fighting with your partner or something, your relationship start going down the drain. And what's happening is, again, you picked up that energy, right? Or you picked up the problem which you've been trying to solve for your friend, okay? Or
and I think the important thing too is you don't even have to be physically close.
oh, absolutely.
Like you could be far away and you can still sort of pick up this energy, just so people kind of realize that it's not also just a physical closeness, although I'm sure you probably pick up more when you're close. But it's important that even if you're just on the phone or something, or in Zoom, listening to this that is not yours, it can still, kind of get on you, right?
Absolutely. So, your friend can be on another continent, and it will, you still can absorb the energy, right? Or it still can happen, because in a sense, there is no space, time, and energy, right? So it's like, that's why sometimes people ask me like, oh, how can you, when I work with clients, how can you see what you see? Or how can you help me to clear the energy if I'm,
So far.
I don't know, New Zealand or in Europe? And I was like, yeah, because there is no space, no time. But going back to your question about how others' energies affect us in our space, it's become like a stagnant, right? Because it's not yours. You can't move it. You can't circulate it. And over time, it might create emotional, physical, or mental problems. Or, you might not feel good. You might feel tired. You may feel depleted, or sometimes you might feel irritable or angry, okay, or depressed. So different, or anxious. Anxiety is a big thing. People don't realize, because again, I work with a lot of people who have anxiety, and I tell them, oh, what's going on? You're absorbing other people's anxiety. And especially in the last few years, right? I mean, the whole world, it was, I would say, I don't know, pandemic of anxiety. So, and those of us who are sensitive, we're like little sponges, right? We just take it in and take it in. And what I teach people, it's again, having an awareness, just even having an awareness about it, it's a key, because then again, light bulb goes on and you go like, oh, wait a minute, this is maybe what's going on. It's not mine.
Yeah, that's huge. I think awareness is number one, no matter what we're talking about, whether it's energy, whether it's, coaching, whether it's, our anxiety. It's really paying attention to like, what am I feeling in my body? What am I, paying that attention, having a little bit of mindfulness, because I think that's really step one for anything in life. But especially, with energy, is it even yours? Are you feeling a little more jittery, not because of coffee, but because maybe you were just around somebody that was a little bit, maybe the coffee person was a little too jittery, and you actually picked that up, and then you go somewhere else and you kind of don't clear off that jitterness that you picked up. I think that's really important. Just awareness, number one. What do you think are some kind of easy steps that somebody can sort of start if they realize maybe they're the empaths, are picking up other people's energy and are having the whole slew of anxiety, apathy, depression, whatever, heaviness, total fatigue, and, they keep sleeping 8-10 hours, but they just are depleted. Granted, they've ruled out medical issues, things like that. But, what are easy things that somebody can do to maybe, I don't know, and I don't know if what's more important in your opinion, like clearing first, then obviously replenishing and maintaining, like what's the sequence, but what's the first thing you can do once you have that awareness?
Great question. And well, as you're talking about it, I remembered another story, and in a sense, what I can start with telling people what you should not be doing.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. We start.
And it was very interesting. I was in, and again, some of you might have heard that story. I was on an online conference a couple of months ago, and I was saying that I was going to teach a workshop for physicians about how to maintain your energetic boundaries. And one of the physicians said, he said, oh, he was a male, why would doctors want to learn that? He said, oh, as doctors, we just build walls. We build walls so we don't feel, right, patients' pain or other people pain. And I mean, it was so interesting. He said it like that, just in such a matter of fact, right? And I was taken aback, because to him it was the right thing to do. But again, what happens when we start building those walls, right? It's in a sense, okay, maybe for you're, running a code, right? Somebody is having cardiac arrest, and you just have to be in that space of total focus, total, calling the orders to save somebody's life. Maybe it would work for a few minutes, but then it doesn't work when people do it for many years, right? Or they do it lifetime, or they do it day after day. Or let's say they think, oh, it's okay if I build walls while I'm at work. When I go home, I take the walls down. But what starts happening, you're not building walls between you and your patients, you're building walls between you and yourself. You start building walls between you and your family. But underneath it, where what he was coming from, it was coming out of resistance. It was coming out, okay, out of fear. Okay, I don't want to get those, my patient's energy. I'm going to resist. I'm going to put walls. And I mean, we all know people like that. I mean, not necessarily physicians, our friends who are building walls, right? And you're like knocking, like, hello, anybody's there? You can't get to them.
Building walls seems like you're cutting yourself off. You're just
Exactly
cutting yourself from life and from people and from perceptive what's happening when you're just so rigid in your little steel box that you made for yourself. You're not able, I think, to also not express but experience like the whole rainbow of a life and expression and feelings. And I think also people in general perhaps are a little bit afraid of emotions and expression, and it's only like glad and mad and sad, like there's three and those are the only allowed, and even those you can never really show them because I don't know why people are afraid of them. But I think life is a little richer when there's like so many feelings, expressions, energy, because it's very different energy than when you're excited versus curious versus scared versus like so many feelings. They're very different what you're going to experience. And there's not just four feelings in this world, there's so many. And I think all those flavors of feelings and emotions is what makes kind of life rich and kind of fun, because there's so many, and you're going to feel very different when it's one versus the other. But we tend to like tone it down, don't express it, so stoic. And I think we lose the flavor and the just the experience of life when we build these walls, tone it down, like so serious. I think life shouldn't be so serious, but maybe that's the urology in me that, we can liven up a little bit, it's not so serious. But that's just my opinion, I don't know.
Yeah. And the part about is, since I so support your work doing free coaching for physicians. And again, some of us on this calls are physicians or healers, right? Who are genuinely interested in helping people or helping society or helping animals or nature to improve the conditions of beingness. And if you think about medicine, I mean, we deal with people suffering on a daily basis, right? So we go from one room to another room, and like, I worked as a hospitalist for 20 years. I go in and I have to pronounce somebody dead, right? And I talk to the families, and I cry with the family. But then I have to go in the next room where to see another patient, and I have to put I have to put a smile on my face, right? Because I have to cheer up this patient, so they feel better. So they see the potential for healing. And we do it day after day. And so many of us, we don't realize, oh my God, right? We deal with human suffering on the daily basis. And if you think about it, how many professions out there who do that, right? Again, like nurses, nurse practitioners, and I have great respect for nurses.
Yeah, or physical therapists. I mean, there's
physical therapists, right? So those who in the
so
healing.
many professions are really there with close interaction of many personalities, because
Exactly.
it's not just the diseases are different, but it's like their personalities, and you have to deal with just different backgrounds, different personalities, happiness levels, aggression levels. They're stressful jobs. I had a patient that told me, he had a stressful job. He worked at Costco, and it was, people are yelling at him. And, I said, I hear you. I'm not minimizing your job is stressful, but, like my day is the same as yours. We deal with people who are angry. People like shoot us. I mean, this is like the reality in healthcare or in urology. Urologists have been shot and killed because people get upset about whatever their penis or whatever it is, but they really get upset. There's violence against, nurses in the ER. You ever been to an ER? People get physically hit all the time, and these are the healthcare people. So we get trauma, not just of what we get traumatized physically. I mean, this is like stressful. And again, then the next person is the most grateful person because you saved them, of whatever it is. And then the next one is yelling at you for something else. And then we have to still maintain our composure and not drag the other people's energy, like you said, from the other room. So I think this is so important to realize, again, going back to that awareness, realizing, how our day is. So I think it was important you said, what is important not to do. Don't build these walls and boundaries, kind of experience the flavors of life and emotions. Don't cut off yourself off of that. But also then what can we do now that we don't know what not to do? We also build awareness. But are there easy things that, you can teach us, for example, from maybe one room to the next? Is it some shaking? I mean, I know about Reiki and prana healing and all these other modalities, and even simple things. And I know we talked about it, and I personally do twice a week now. This is my new prescription, twice a week, salt baths, not even the Epsom. I know you like Epsom, but just the actual table salt, the whole container for $1.39. And I put in my bathtub, and twice a week, I really would just go in there for 30 minutes. And I feel so much, we're talking about re-energized. I feel re-energized just going in there, with the salt, because it's so important. Like I said, you pick up the energy, and I just want to get rid of it because it's like you explained, it's not mine. I don't want it. You can keep it or go down the drain. It's not mine. And otherwise we feel weighed down. So what are things that you like to maybe do? Because again, my salt baths twice a week are, gold. Yeah. And they're really inexpensive. And, by Tuesday, I'm like, oh, is it almost Wednesday? Because I really start feeling it. I try to do kind of like midweek and at the end of the week. But last week Tuesday, I was like, oh, I feel like it's time. but what do you suggest?
Well, first of all, I've given you full permission. You can have salt baths every day.
Well, you have the ocean. So actually a great place is the ocean. So you've lived by the ocean. That is your salt bath. I mean, this is actually like, it is salt and it's healing. People, I mean, look at surfers. Why are they so happy? Because there's salt baths every, day that they surf, and they go with the wave. I mean, like, talk about a metaphor of life. You go with the flow, and you look at the power of nature and how the power and the beauty, but you also just go with the flow, and you're not so uptight and you get salted bath, with salt baths.
Yes. Yes. It's like I those of you who know me, I'm also a mermaid, and my friends call me mermaid, so I have to wet my mermaid tail in the ocean, almost every day.
Yes, that's important.
But as you were talking about how intense it is, again, it's some of the patients we see, we're like grabbing to physicians, right? And it's understandable if somebody is drowning, right? We're in that survival, in the panic and fear, and how many physicians. This is what we deal with daily basis, and I'm sure you deal with patients, as a urologist, and to realize again, when I was going through that, and sometimes I'm like, why do I feel so tired? And low energy. This was a few years ago. And then I thought, oh, why don't I, my intuition told me, just calculate how many patients you've seen, starting from med school, or even when I was, healing patients, putting my hands on. And I came up to like almost 40,000, probably more than 40,000 patients, right? So, and I want to emphasize this point because a lot of physicians, they don't think like that. They don't think about that. It becomes such a norm. This is what we do, right? And even if we talk about, we all have those older physicians, old school. I remember when I was complaining, oh, I'm on call every, ICU every 3 nights or 2 nights. And they was like, oh, in my days, I was on call 7 days a week, or I was on call 30 days a month. It's like, what are you complaining? Just toughen up, right?
That's terrible. Let's just say that's terrible.
But what you were asking, what can we do? Awareness is key, right? We're all different. So for somebody maybe seeing 30 patients a day, it's not a big deal. But for somebody else who is sensitive, who is an empath, for them, seeing 15 patients a day, this is a number, or maybe 10 patients a day, right? And
also, I hate to interrupt you, but also does not the number, which I think that's a great exercise, to have a number idea of how many people's energy touch you or grab you or want you to save them, but also not only in the daytime, but so important, which physicians and other professionals don't really do, is like really having that break, maybe in the middle of the day, to like really step out for a second of your office and just go and get that mental break, that fresh air, whatever, at least the air can brush off the energy, whatever it is, because it's so important to have a little bit of a break, because otherwise it starts, weighing you down. And we have been taught, oh no, don't eat, and like, or eating your desk. I see my colleagues and I'm like, why do you eat your desk? Like, go outside, just get some fresh air, like be in the sun. It's so important to get your vitamin D. You'll feel better. But just have that little break at times as well. Like, we all need rest. And again, something that is not ever put attention to, the importance of rest, but not just sleeping, but like that rest in the middle of a day when, again, like, patients become, difficult cases or any complication or things that just start weighing you down. And then you need to have that break. So I think it's important to really prioritize that break, like shake off that energy, because it weighs you down. Oh,
yes,
the paperwork,
exactly.
all of it. I mean, and sometimes, like they said, Alice, the paperwork, sometimes I'm like, I need to eat, and then I'll do like the 55 messages I have. I'm not going to like push myself through it right now when I'm hangry, because I will definitely get hangry. And so I'm just going to eat, and then I'll come back and I'll be fresh. Because if I try to push when I'm hangry, it's like the terrible idea, because I'm actually slower. I'm like grumpy pants. It's not fun. So take care of you first, go eat, go pee, because you probably haven't peed, and then, come back, and then you'll be much fresher and like less annoyed or short-tempered, and then you could do it even more efficiently. But it's so important that you say, oh, we don't have time. You have plenty of time for you. Just have to prioritize it. You'll be more efficient if you want to be efficient, and you'll just do it with a little more joy than when you were hangry. It just, it's a fallacy to say we can just push through it.
Yes, I mean, as you were talking about it, part of it I was remembering my residency, and I remembered, oh my God, how many bottles of Ensure I drank when I was a resident.
What? Oh my gosh.
Because I didn't have time to eat, and I was already, my normal weight is like 95 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and then when I was off, I would just like eat to gain back, a couple of pounds. But yes. So first, again, awareness that nothing wrong with you. It's what's happening. Maybe you're picking up others' energies, you're picking up others' patients' pain. And whatever, having like a system in place, system that supports you. Whatever it's like, Diana, for you is soul bath, right?
Yeah.
For somebody else is, okay, when you're on your days off or even between patients, what brings you joy,
Yeah.
what makes you feel better. I see a lot of physicians exercising and going to the gyms after work. And a lot of them, they don't realize, I mean, besides that, yeah, you get release of endorphins and all of that. But energetically, what's actually happening through exercising, they get more present into their bodies, and they own the energy more. So they, in a sense, they're moving other people's energies, they're moving patients' energies that they accumulated throughout the day through exercise.
Yeah, so important. I mean, you really literally are moving. If the breath is in it, you move it through your body and clear it. And it's a form of meditation. If you're a runner,
Exactly.
so is biking. I mean, it's a form of meditation that pays the breath. You could use it as a meditation. Like, you don't have to move to the cave and wear a robe and shave your head. I mean, like running is that. But I think it's important to, again, say what you said, do what, brings you that joy. Because again, maybe it's not the salt bath, that's fine. Maybe it's the, the biking or swimming or running. Or maybe it's just reading, just like getting your little nook and reading, and that just brings you joy and calm and peace. And that's, or playing with your dog or your tortoise or whatever it is. You have to build that into your day. And like Saba is one, but I mean, I have like a billion things that I do, because if I don't, then I like really run to a depleted zone, which when we're depleted, we just cannot be empathetic and loving, which is what you would want a physician to be. It's just physically impossible. So you really have to find those ways to, create that time, make boundaries. I think Alice put here, a lot of clinics, they don't build in lunch breaks, sadly, like where I was working. I mean, to me, that's a deal breaker. Absolutely not. I would not work there. I will leave, or I would put my like pole in the sand and say, I need my lunch break, or like adios, because maybe they don't build it. But then when we stand up and say, I need my lunch break, otherwise it's not going to fly, then something has to be done. And if they're not going to do that, then it's time for you to probably figure out if that's where you want to stay, because nobody's going to come give you a lunch break if it's not there. They can care two peanuts about it. You have to say, these are my needs, these are important, and take care of you, because nobody's going to do it for you. So Alice, like, just if you can stay, of course, but if not, you need to speak up, and also maybe enlist other people in your group. And some people don't. I mean, I have some colleagues that schedule patients all through lunch every 15 minutes. And that's up to them, whatever makes people happy, or I don't know if it makes them happy, but whatever they have to do, it's not my place to judge. I know that for me, if I don't get my full hour, it's going to be like hangry time and really grumpy pants. So I need that time for me. And, that point earlier about, 50 patients a day, I cannot do 50 patients a day. I mean, if people offer me these jobs, like 50 people a day, like no way. Like I will just have IBS and have a heart attack. This is not what I want to do. I know my limit. So,
exactly.
I'm like, I don't care how much money you give me. There's no amount of money that is going to give me that, that for me, but that's me. Again, some people, 50 people, they're happy as they can be,
Exactly.
whatever they're doing.
Yes, exactly.
You have to just know you. I think that's important what you said,
Yes, exactly what you just said. And just know your priorities, right? So put yourself first, like you said, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And then again, being in nature is very, very healing. So even if you've been around trees, or you put your, bare feet on earth, it's very healing. And some of it, what I also teach my clients is, you choose the energy, you choose the state you want to be in, like energetic state, emotional state, right? So outside world doesn't dictate how you feel, you choose it yourself. And let's say after you see the patient, and this is what I used to do, besides other tools that I teach physicians, when you come out of the room, you're washing your hands, you can just imagine that you're washing all the energy you picked up from the patient, you're just washing it down the drain. And it helps you, and it helps the patient, right? You're just making that clear separations. Or when you're leaving the hospital, or you're leaving the clinic at the end of the day, just imagine, like, you create like a soap bubble, right? And you just imagine that all the energy you accumulated during the day from the patients, from other people at your workspace, you just imagine it's like, oh, it just goes to the bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
think
then
that's
you,
great.
and then you just, boom, you just exploded, you know, like soap bubbles, we just like disappear. So the energy gets recirculated, and you can decide, oh, what energy, how do I want to feel, what energy I want to be in. And you can just imagine you just bring in this beautiful gold like ball of energy filled with your own energy, joy, happiness, peace. Um,
And I
so
think also
you're
setting an
making
intention, I think
separation.
setting an intention. I mean, I don't know if it's silly or not, but I literally, even though I am 6 minutes away from work, I will get in the car and play like, India Ari, like I Am Light. It was like I am light. I'm not gonna sing it, but it's a beautiful song. And I really try to just drive there and say, I am light, I am light, I get my beam of light for others. I'm gonna heal, just to really set my intention. So when the crazy stuff happens, I'm like, I am light, like I have to really, you have to put yourself in a zen place, because you're
Yes.
correct. Like the whole world could be exploding. And, if you ever worked in a clinic or anywhere, even a school, as shit hits the fan. And there's always drama-rama, but like, it's not my drama-rama. That's your drama-rama, and you keep it to yourself. And you have to really kind of imagine, like I said, either whether it's a gold energy, which is healing, purifying, whether it's a song that you like, whether it's a little mantra that you need to say to yourself, to like kind of keep all the chaos outside, and you stay in like a little zen, happy place for yourself. And people come to me and they, my nurse says, oh, this, I'm like, oh, well, that's their drama, not mine. I'm not going to get in it. I'm not putting my toes in that one, and good for them. And, the whole, I mean, even though you're supposed to wash your hands, but now even with alcohol, if you come out of the room and put the alcohol, that's literally my time where I'm like, alcohol, I'm like, shake it off, and I shake off the energy. Just like if you ever see animals, dogs, and that's how you kind of get rid of like, trauma, which humans don't do very well, but dogs and animals, cheetahs, all that, they do very well at releasing the energy and the trauma. So they get in a little fight, they shake off and move away, and they're fine. But us humans, that person yells at us and we just keep it all in, and like we don't shake it off and leave it, and it just stays with us, and then it becomes like our anger and resentment later. And then maybe you go home to your husband or whatever, and you start yelling at him because that person was rude to you. So we got to find those ways, like you said, of like the hands, shaking it, being the light, whatever it is, to get rid of that. Sometimes I come home and I just lay in the grass. I'm like, leave me alone. And I just like lay in the grass. I need to get rid of all this stuff because I feel weighed down from whatever happened. So these are easy things, being in nature. You don't have to go far. Go in your backyard. If you have the ocean like you do, you go and swim, hikes, grass, trees. Actually, I just saw like an Instagram, Jay Shetty, if you know who he is. He put a little Instagram of his dog. I think his daughter, like, he's like, I don't know why, but my daughter always, or child, she's like 2 years old or something, like hugging all the trees. She goes outside barefoot and like hugs the trees. And he's like, I think she knows something, we don't, which is true. We are like one with nature and the trees and the energy. Like, hug that energy, not the one from somebody yelling at you. So there's so much. And we can go on for hours because it's so interesting to me, and you have so many tools. And this is just kind of like dipping our toes into all this. And I know you do this for clients and all kinds of, backgrounds, not just physicians, of helping them tools like energy, or use it like meditations, or you clear this energy, and they come to you with so many things. But like, what are 3 things that you want to maybe share with people that are here today, that you want them to kind of go home with? I mean, you said many things that I thought were very helpful. Of course, awareness, obviously things that you can do that bring you joy, that to kind of replenish and maintain your energy, and also being in nature. There's a lot of things you said that are very powerful, even though it seems so simple, but when you do them, there's so much power. But what are 3 things that you want to leave people that are watching, this or the replay or sharing it later, that you want them to know?
Well, it's pretty much what summarizing what we're talking about. Again, it's value yourself. Don't let anybody else to devalue yourself. And know, because again, I work with a lot of sensitive, empathic healers. Know that you're different, but it's in a sense, it's a gift, right? Because it also comes, you have a higher sense of intuition. So using that and developing this gift, and at the same time, maintaining your own well-being, maintaining your energetic boundaries. Do things that bring you joy. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, and that's, I just want to interrupt you. That's something that you actually teach as well. How to, for people that are interested, people always ask, like, how do you increase your intuition? What can you do? Those are things that you actually do teach. And I think that is a great gift to teach others how to do that. So I just wanted to plug that in.
Yes, exactly. So I do teach physicians and other people how to develop your intuition. I teach people how to maintain your energetic boundaries, where I teach different energetic tools. So how to know your energy, how to maintain your awareness, how to recognize what's your energy, what's others' energy, right? And how to clear it. Because again, teaching intuition first, before I start teaching intuition, I teach people, okay, recognizing your energy, right? Because then when you have intuition, you become open. It just, you become more kind of tuned into what's going on around you. So it's very, very important being centered. And just again, choose, even when you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, choose how you want to feel for the day. Choose the energy you want to be in. For example, again, when I get up, before I even get out of bed, I just decide, okay, I just want to have a magical, miraculous day. I want it to be filled with joy, laughter, right? Whatever I would like, abundance. So you are the one who creating your reality. You're creating your universe, right? And it does not depend on what's going on in the world. So the whole world can be in chaos, but you don't have to match it. And when you heal yourself and you creating the energy around you, you benefit the whole world, because it's like a vibration. It's like a ripple effect, right?
Yeah, and I think for people that are visual too, is like the apple in the bag. One's spoiled, and then everything else gets spoiled because one bad apple just, or the strawberry that has mold, everything else gets moldy. So think of you as the strawberry that is happy and shiny and red and delicious, not the moldy one. And then there's really more visual to realize, like, you have to be well, like, yourself inside to radiate all those changes you want in the world, instead of blaming and shaming and saying everybody's terrible. Like, well, what's inside of you? Because you radiate that energy, and then you're part of, like, the solution. So don't try to change everybody else before you try to change your husband, your boyfriend, your sister, whoever. Like, just change yourself. And, I think that's where the answer is. Stop trying to change everybody else, change you, that's my opinion.
Yes, exactly. Because when you change how you feel, you change your energy, everybody else, you help everybody else around you.
Yeah.
Right? So they start feel better.
Absolutely.
And, we're all hopefully wise by now. We realize we can't change other people, but we can sometimes show them the way to help them to heal themselves.
Yeah, be the
To change
example.
themselves.
Like, you can be the example for others to be that person. Start trying to control other people. You never will change that person. Like, it's not going to happen. But maybe you could be an example. I agree with that absolutely. You should also be a marriage counselor. No, but so anyway, how can people find you? Because I know people just want to know more later, and I know you do some workshops, sometimes free, sometimes paid, and really anybody can come to these. And again, teaching these tools, and you've just done one recently, which was free, which is crazy because this is so valuable, and there's not a lot of opportunity to be able to do this. So where do they find you? People want to know more.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So you can find me on Divine Wellness MD. This is the name of my website. You can find me on Instagram, and I think you're going to put links, right?
Yes. Yeah, there'll
Divine
be links.
Wellness MD. Yes, love to hear from you. Connect. I do teach workshops for physicians, for other for people who are non-physicians. I do one-on-one sessions, private consultations, intuitive consultations, and healing.
Yeah, and two of my friends have done them, and they absolutely thought, like, that emoji with a mind blown. They're like, what? How did she know this? How did she figure this out? And I know people that are here, or the ones that are going to watch the replay that are your fans, will say absolutely the same thing. And I'll put it, it's Divine Wellness MD. I'll put the website in a second, once I type it. But yeah, absolutely, so powerful. I cannot under stress it and never stress it. My children absolutely love you because your energy, and you are just so powerful and just so lovely, and your beautiful energy just radiates.
Oh, thank you.
Which is amazing. So I'm just so grateful to know you and that you help so many. And again, we will have a replay. You can watch it. And again, we're here just every month. There's always a new meeting that you can come to. It's free, open to all. It will be on physiciancoachsupport.com, the replay. And next month, we're going to have also an amazing speaker talking about efficiency and things to do in clinic, actually, how you can be more efficient. And we'll have all the details soon. But thank you again for everybody staying. And I know it's the holiday weekend, but just really appreciate you being here and the support, and obviously supporting Oxana as well. Just a testament of who you are. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, bye.